has any questions, please feel free to either unmute yourself or join in the chat, and I'll do my best. Okay, this is about the essay. And the reason I just actually hung up just before I got involved with this. I was talking to a good friend of mine. She's an admissions counselor right now at a Big Ten. And I just want to let you know that while the essay is important, your class selection and your grades are of highest importance, always have been. Here, I'm going to go through here. For each sheet, there's scores of applications that they have to look through. And what the purposes of the essay is a couple of purposes. One, it's one of the few opportunities that you have to show your voice to the admissions officer. Bear with me a second, and it helps you distinguish yourself. Here, again, the GPA, the rigor of the coursework, your class rank, if schools do rank, a lot of schools don't. Standardized tests, I believe this year, and Sharon may know better than I, but you students actually probably really know. The tests are optional. I've been asking about that, and my understanding is, yes, they are optional. I did talk to, actually my daughter is on the alumni council for Cornell, and she said that they're talking about maybe if they know that you have the opportunity to take the standardized tests, perhaps you should take them. In a couple of discussions, what I've heard was, if it's optional, you don't have to take them. However, if you do take them, they should be really good scores. You want to make sure you're within what the school is looking for before you submit them. Letters of recommendation are very important. Your resume, your activity list, and your essay. Your essays in many cases. Is everybody here familiar with the types of applications? I think I need you guys to say something. Let's see if I can do this. I don't really want you to see everything that's going on my screen, but there are 4 types of applications for all colleges: early action, early decision, regular decision, and rolling admission. The dates here, November, January, February, those are the approximate dates that those applications are due. The dates in the right-hand column are the dates that they anticipate letting you know whether you've gotten in. I wish I could find a way to get some feedback from you to find out whether you know this or not. I'll assume that there might be somebody out there that would like to know this. Early action is a school that, if you would like to know early, that you've gotten in, and that's very helpful. It lets you sleep at night and know, even if it's not your top choice school, that you have an option. Off the top of my head, I can't think of specifically which schools are early action. Early decision, on the other hand, is a binding decision. If they admit you, you are obligated to go to that school. That obligation is without regard to your financial package. So in some cases, they do have it so that you could get out if you don't get your finances, but you really have to make that decision regardless of what your financial package may look like. So that can be a real challenge for a lot of people. However, your odds of getting in your top choice school are increased tremendously by getting an early decision, because you're now applying within a smaller pool of applicants. Regular decision is when most people apply, pretty much all your schools. Again, you're applying with a larger pool, so that if it's your top choice and it's a really competitive school, I always suggest you consider early decision. Rolling admission is, I know Michigan was always rolling admission. You tend to see that in the larger schools because they have to fill the class. And the way that really works is that they tend to be less competitive as they start, and as the seats fill, it becomes more challenging to get in. So if you're looking at a school that's rolling admission, you may want to apply to that relatively early to get in. Again, the only one here that really obligates you is early decision. If you're going out looking at schools, I always suggest you check your Visit all your early decision possibilities first. Moving on. If anybody has any questions on any of this, please type it into the chat or unmute yourself. Sharon, if anybody types something into the chat, please let me know.
Will do.
Thanks. So what's the big deal about the college application essay? Well, one thing is it's the only opportunity you really get to give your voice to the admissions counselors for them to get to really hear from you. My suggestion is if there's anything there that affects your grades, because as I mentioned before, your grades and your course selection are the most important things here. If there's anything that impacts your grades or your course selection negatively, mostly, positively, your grades are coming out great, that's fine. And it's not in your essay, and there, you'll see there's a supplemental essay regarding COVID-19, which I'll talk a little bit more about. I suggest that you discuss it with your guidance counselor and let them include it. The counselors do in fact read those letters, and if it's nowhere else in the application and there's something that's impacting perhaps understandably why your grades or your whatever it is not up to where you'd like it to be, you should have that in there. Okay, again, here from your essay, the essay, a picture of you emerges from the essay. I have a very specific, not so much style as philosophy about the essay. And I'll get into that as we go through, but my essay is more, it's not arbitrary. It's not just any essay. It's an essay that helps paint a picture of you and how you fit into what they're offering. Okay. It gives you an opportunity to distinguish yourself. Really where I have found the essays most successful is students that are kind of on the cusp. You might get in, you have to fit in with your grades and your academic and your course selection and all that. You got to be kind of in that ballpark that they'll accept you. But if you may or may not get in, the essay can really impact your chances. I have on an occasion used the essay successfully to mitigate negative factors, but I wouldn't count on that. I've had that happen on occasion, and it really does stand out. I've had students with tremendous success because it sets them apart. Sometimes I hear students say, I have all the same classes as my best friend, we have the same scores and the same grades. This is how you distinguish yourself. And the other thing that's beautiful about this, I think it might be on the next slide. Go back for 1 second, or it doesn't really matter here. The essay is the only thing that you can really change up until the moment you apply. Your grades, your letters of recommendation, all of that is in. The essay you write right before you submit it. So it also, if you've done something that wasn't in there, maybe over the summer, here's where you get it in. Okay, there are rules. Does anybody have any questions? Anything? Okay. There are rules. When you write an essay, not unlike a text, things, you got to be careful because it's not the same as speaking to somebody face to face. So one is you don't criticize other people. You don't write about your faults or your flaws, or your flaws or anything that's negative about yourself. You're selling yourself. It's a sales tool. Don't reveal family secrets. Don't write about obstacles. There's a whole essay on obstacles. Don't write about any obstacles you have not overcome or something good hasn't come out of it. Those are the ones you just want to avoid. Don't write about teen tours or luxury vacations. A caveat with that, there are a lot of times when people go to, say, Guatemala or whatever, and they worked and they volunteered. If that adds to your story or it comes into play with your story, you can use it. My suggestion is don't say, I took this discovery tour. Just talk about what you did that was relevant to the topic. You don't really want to talk about a vacation. You don't know who's reading the essay, and it's just not a great reflection on you. And that's the whole purpose of this, to reflect well on you. Do not write about anything illegal or immoral. Do not write about anything that you would be embarrassed to tell your parent or another person, authority. I get those a lot. I'm always concerned when somebody says, my child wrote an essay but won't let me see it. Always red flags go up there. And this one I just added because we are living in interesting times. Avoid controversial topics. Do not talk about politics. Although, I mean, there are certain cases where I know kids get very involved in political situations, and that can be very helpful. But my suggestion is avoid it. Don't talk about religion. Unless, you know, I mean, there's certain places like you got to be careful. Animal rights activists, you don't want to, you know, you got to look at the school. If you're applying to a school where hunting is big, animal rights advocates may not be, you know, the right way to go. You don't want to talk about gun control in a place where there has been, you know, a shootout. So you got to be very careful on that. And I hope I'm not offending anyone here. Please feel free to let me know. What to do? Okay, answer the question. One technique is always to make sure the question is in your answer. Stay within the word count, which is 250 is the minimum to 650 is the maximum. Write out abbreviations. Abbreviations, I've always run into this when I've had science students, particularly when they apply to high-end schools. I remember I had one kid that applied to MIT and insisted that the reviewer should understand what he was talking about. However, he was talking about artificial intelligence, and the reviewer could be a biologist. So always write out your abbreviations, whatever it is. Assume that some of the readers of your essays are not necessarily versed in whatever it is you're writing about. Say only positive things about yourself. I can't say that enough. I don't know how many people here would drink coffee, but I don't know how many would buy Starbucks if what they told you was that if you drink Starbucks, you'll start to shake, you'll perspire, and it'll stain your teeth. Don't write that. Right? It tastes good, it gives you energy. It's, you know, that's what it's all about. You're advertising all about yourself. College admissions is a business. It really is. And you're about selling yourself to all these businesses, and the process is a business too. They want to have a certain population of students. They want to try to fill all of their majors, which is really important because that's what they're selling. Again, check your grammar and your spelling. Have somebody read your essay. Make sure that your grammar is correct. Read it yourself before you submit it. Check all your spelling, your capitalizations, everything. You could have an English teacher read it if they're willing to. That's always a very nice thing to do. And I think I may have a slide here about my next suggestion. Let's see, it's not changing. Okay. Do I have it here? Oh, something fell out of here. In any case, I always suggest that people ask somebody who does not know you well, and that's probably what's missing over here. It's always a good idea. I always have students hand their essay to somebody who does not know them well, and ask them to read the essay, and then ask them afterwards, what do you know about me now? That's always key, because that's what the admissions officers need to do. They're going to look at their essay and they don't know you, and they're going to draw conclusions about who you are based on your essay. Show don't tell is not here, but probably a lot of you have heard that. And there's ways to do that. Like, instead of saying I'm a kind person, you could talk about acts of kindness. I care about, you know, the environment. You could talk about things that you've actually done that better the environment. I care about helping people that are disabled. Don't say that. Write about what you did. Contemplate writing an essay that supports your best attributes as an applicant. I actually have a method that goes through a personal inventory. And I like to think in terms of what is the school looking for? And this is we're talking about the Common App essay. The Common App essay goes to all of your schools. So you've got to be much more broad. There are specific essays that are school specific, your supplemental essay. Some of you may be applying to schools that have supplements and some may not. So the Common App essay is designed to be broad. I'll get into that in a second. If I miss anything, please, somebody ask me. Be careful about humor. Here's back to what it's like in the text. You don't want to be sarcastic or try to be funny in an essay. For the same reason, you got to be careful with the text. And don't write LOL. Not everything that is funny comes off as funny. Delivery means a lot. So be careful to avoid bias. Now that's always a very scary thing. Not everybody knows how to do it. And most people don't even notice it when it comes into the essay. They don't realize that they are being biased. An example of this is I had a student years ago who talked about how he was playing online games, and he was playing with people around the world, and it gave him a nice an opportunity to talk Spanish. And he had not realized that, gee, he lives here on Long Island where there's plenty of opportunities to talk Spanish to people, but he had to go online to talk to Spanish to people, which did not say anything very favorable about who he was and how he felt about the people around him. That's how bias can be in there. It can be very insidious and something you don't even realize. Years ago, people used to always talk about, I don't know if they still have this essay, it was about diversity. I think it was Michigan, but I could be wrong. And they'd always get a slew of essays about kids who like to eat different types of food. That doesn't say anything favorable about you and how your understanding of people from different places. So that's something you have to be careful of, and you may, if you think there might be in there, you might want to ask somebody neutral to see if there is anything that they could interpret as showing some sort of bias or anything negative about you. Write about something that a college education can build upon. That's really important. So let me explain what I mean by that. Colleges are business, okay? They have majors and they have classes and they have to fill those classes. So as I said before, this is the Common App essay. This is going to go to pretty much every school you apply to. There are some schools that don't accept the Common App, but usually you can adapt this essay to fit into, say, the UC essay or whatever it is. So my feeling is that you're effectively like almost applying for a job. So most schools have biology majors, they have English majors, they have math majors, they have certain things. You should try to do a personal inventory, find out where you have experience, where you have interest, and have demonstrated that interest. That's very important. And what I like to see people do in their essay is to write an essay based on what they would like to do in college, preferably what you would like to major in and what you would like to do further on. So when we do the personal inventory, you got to find some interesting stories here about anything. You do some brainstorming and come up with some stories about what you've done that supports whatever you want to be. If you want to go into medicine, there is no pre-med. There are pre-med courses. There's no pre-med major particularly, but you might want to be a biology major or whatever, chemistry or whatever it is. you have to support that. As I said in the beginning, there's a lot of students that are going to be applying to most universities, although this year is a whole game changer. It really is. And I am very impressed by all of you who are here tonight and still going through the process and doing what you need to get into these schools. So that said, you may want to think about what it is you'd like to do in life, what you would like to do in college, and what you have done up to this point to make that argument. I will tell you that I sometimes get people who say to me things like, particularly when the parents want them to have a particular career. They say that, well, he wants to be a chemical engineer. Now, there's a limited amount of seats for chemical engineers in any school that has engineering. So when you're looking at those seats, the admissions counselors are saying, well, I have so many seats, why should I give that seat to you? So the question is, why should they give that seat to you? And you have to have an answer for that in the essay. If your answer is, well, I don't really know anything about chemical engineering. My father says I can get a lot of money and get a good job, and that's why I want to be a chemical engineer. My suggestion is don't write that essay. Write an essay about something you can actually support. You can, you're 17 years old or whatever, they're not going to hold you to it. If you change your mind when you get to college and say, gee, I thought I wanted to go into entomology, the study of insects, because I did that, you know, all throughout high school. But now that I'm here, I really decided that I just can't stand spiders. So maybe I'll try something else. You can do that. You can do that. This essay is not, you know, a commitment for life. It's, and that I will swear that I never said this. It's a way to talk about what you want to be and what you want to do in college and what you want to do afterwards. But don't worry, you can change your mind. And I find that one of the most successful essays is the one that talks about that. Anybody have any questions so far? Please enter them into the chat or unmute.
Yes, I actually have a question along the lines of what you're talking about, but it's a different topic, and that's what I would like to get your opinion on. If
Sure. Can I just ask you your name? I have no idea who I'm talking to.
Oh, yes. Hi. My name is Linda Buck.
Hi, Linda.
Hi. My question is here my son is a student who's had a total upward trajectory from 9th grade to 12th. He had like an LD, a little bit of a disability, and he overcame that through really hard work. He made National Honor Society now. He's straight A student. So he wanted to write about that, but he was cautious about, how do I explain how I went from, you know, one point to the other? Do I tell them I had an LD? Should I just say it was a struggle? Like, what's the terminology? Because on one hand, it's a success story, but on the other hand, we don't want the colleges to think, hey, I don't want someone who had a learning disability at our school. So what is the proper word usage in explaining, you know, the success that he's had at school?
Okay, Linda, let me first tell you a couple of things about that. They can't discriminate against anybody with a learning disability because it's covered under the ADA. So I wouldn't worry so much about that, and the specific language you can ask your guidance counselor about. However, my concern is this. Can you see me, by the way? I have no idea. Can you see the screen?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, I can see you.
Oh, okay, cool. That's not really such a cautionary thing for a school. I did actually see one essay where a kid said they were suicidal. On the other hand, that is something I would not write about. Learning disabilities and overcoming them, there's actually an essay about it. But here's the problem. There's no major in overcoming learning disabilities. So you're effectively, think about it as applying for a job. If you ran a company and you needed different positions filled, that's just not a position that they have there. So you can put that in the, Bear with me. I'm just gonna, hopefully that works. I would really prefer you to write an essay that's about what he wants to do and what he wants to major in. And he can include how he had to overcome this as part of that essay. Is that helpful? Did I answer your question?
I'm sorry, can you go more detail about that? You're saying he shouldn't write about the success at school and how we overcame things. He shouldn't
Well,
write about.
you can, but I don't see how that's going to really help him get into
Got it.
college. I don't think the
Got it.
learning disability it's not a make or break one way or the other. You know, he either gets into what the school is, you know, within the criteria or not. But if you want to get into a school where it's maybe a little bit above where he belongs, you want to apply and say, okay, I want to go into, what does he like? What do you think he would major in?
Political science, legal studies.
Okay, I don't know that legal studies is a major, but political science is. I would rather see him write an essay about things that he's done in political science. Maybe he volunteered for the Legal Aid Society, or he clerked for a judge, and he can talk about how he accomplished this in spite of his learning disability and the extra effort he had to do to accomplish something that might have been easier for others.
Okay.
So you see what how that would work? How
Yes.
that would be a much more effective essay?
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes,
then
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
right. So then he would be able to get into that. They have a major to offer him, and then they can say, gee, this kid really cares about that. He overcame this. But overcoming a learning disability, where are they going to put that? You know, it's okay. So you overcame it. Now what? Now what do you want to major in? What do you want? Where are we going to put you in this school?
Got it.
Okay.
Good. Thank you.
All righty. Any other questions? Feel free to jump in anytime. Okay. All right. For some reason, my thing has stopped working to get me to the next page. So bear with me. Let's see. Is there a way for me to do it on screen? Ah, got there. Okay, the essay prompts. For those who, am I blocking the essay prompts with the names here?
Nope, it's good.
Okay.
I can see it. Yep.
All right, everybody else can see it. I guess my screen looks different than yours. The essay prompts are the same as they were last year, and they might have been the same, I think, for the last 2-3 years. They actually really have improved them over the years. They've honed them. They took a lot of feedback, and we're going to get into each essay one at a time. You can either write down the questions as they come up, and you'll have the opportunity to see them again as I go through this. But you can also look at them, get them from commonapp.org. I believe that's their email address. So let's go on. There are 7 prompts. Word limit is minimum 250, maximum 650. And I'm going to go into each one of them now. Background or interest. Some students have a background, identity, interest, or talent that is so meaningful, they believe their application would be incomplete without it. If this sounds like you, then please share your story. I separated this for a reason. This one has only 2 parts. Most of your essay questions have at least 3. You'll also find that most of the essay questions, they're all broad. They're specifically broad because you can find that your essay question might not fit perfectly into one of these questions, so you may be able to adapt it. Is there anybody here that wants to share a background, identity, interest, or talent here? I don't know if it's going to come up. I don't have the chat screen, so Sharon, if somebody says anything, please tell me. Anybody looking at this essay, thinking about that they might want to share something? Okay, this could work it could work for just about anything. Somebody who's an artist or a dancer or a science researcher or someone who has a background that's meaningful. Might be they're from a certain country or anything that has impacted them in some way. There are people that, it could be, this goes back to, like, forget the controversial subjects, but it could be somebody who wants to maybe go into women's studies, or there are so many offbeat kind of things. Like if you have a specific major or something you really want to do for whatever reason, it could be theology, which is the study of religion, or it could be about a specific religion, or it could be, say, Black studies or something like that. This could be something that would work for you. And in this case, it says, if this sounds like you, share your story. The next one, I have some tips specific to this. Hold on. Good. So happy that this went through. Okay. If this, yes?
I'm sorry. There's a question in the chat.
Sure. Good. Tell me.
Do you want me to read it?
Well, I don't even know. I'm sorry. I really don't have the chat here, and I'm not sure how to get to it.
That's okay. I can read it.
Okay.
The question is, so a college essay is technically talking about what you want to major in and what achievements you want, and putting, I guess, into details. Also, who you are. And I want to major in computer science and then computer engineering. So I guess the question.
I wish I could pull it up, but I think I have it here. Okay,
Yeah.
here's the thought on that. That is not what the essay question, what it is. It's not what do you want to major in with. That's my approach to it. And the reason I approach it that way is I found it to be very effective. You could write an essay about anything. When I help students, my goal is to help them get into their top choice school. And I have found using that method to really be very successful. So I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm just saying that it's just a very good way to do it. I'm sorry, what was the student interested in? Computer science, did you say? Sharon, I'm sorry.
Yeah, computer science and computer engineering.
Okay, very competitive right now.
Yeah.
Really, oh, look at that, the thing came up. Let me see.
Okay, you see it?
Yeah, I did, and I don't even know why it came up, and it doesn't say that. Okay, all right, okay. Fabulous. Okie doke. That was from Justin. Okay, Justin. Let me tell you right now that it is competitive. Got to do really, really well to get into those majors in competitive schools. Carnegie Mellon comes to mind. Columbia. There's some great schools for that. So because it's so competitive, there are limited seats. Let's say you want to get into one of those two, Carnegie Mellon or Columbia, in computer science or computer engineering. There's a lot of competition for those seats. So my suggestion to you is take a personal inventory as to what would make you the best candidate. They talk about your elevator message, which is good when you go onto campus, and write that down. And then I like to always start with a story or an anecdote that leads into that, getting all that information. But what you really want to do is do a personal inventory about what would make you most qualified to get into those programs, and then find a way to get the top things in the most recent and the most impressive credentials into that essay. That is my suggestion. Not everybody does it, but I can tell you that when I work with students, that's what I do, and most of them get in. I see, and when you write about this essay, and most, when you go to the essay here, bear with me a second. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong page here. We'll get back to that in a second. Bear with me. Okay, back to this one. This was the first essay, how it inspired you to get to a particular interest or path. Connect this to what you hope to do after graduation, which is what we were just talking about with computer engineering, and achieve your goals, and include examples of your past and present activities, which is what I told you about. I'm going to get to the next question too, because I don't want it to pass. from Anna. I don't know if everybody reads this essay. This is from Anna. She's half Japanese and American and has been living in Japan for 5 years. Should she incorporate some of her experience and cultural differences in experiences in her essay as my aspirations and achievements? Not unlike the question about the learning disabilities. When I work with a student, it all should have a common goal. Do I think that belongs in there? It's probably very relevant because it impacts who you are, the fact that you lived in Japan for 5 years. I'm sure it's a very different culture. I would like to see that in your essay, but it shouldn't be, it should be specific to what your essay is about. It shouldn't be kind of a random thing about living in Japan that may have nothing to do with what you're pursuing. But if you were, say, pursuing, just like Jason here, I'm sorry, oh, it was Justine. I'm so sorry, I read it wrong, Justine. If you were like Justine studying computer engineering, but you also are half Japanese, having lived in Japan for 5 years, you want to incorporate the living in Japan so it's relevant to computer engineering or whatever it is you choose to study. Did I answer that question? Just, I hope so. I don't see anything there.
She
Next.
said yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Okay, overcoming an obstacle or failure. This actually could work with the learning disability, by the way. You'll see from the question whether it makes sense to you. The question, which I would normally ask somebody else to read, is the lessons we take from obstacles we can encounter can be fundamental to later success. Recount a time when you faced a challenge, setback, or failure. How did it affect you, and what did you learn from this experience? Okay, I'm going to go to the next part, which talks about the tips rather than tell you from here. I'm going to try. Okay, I'm still trying. Okay, where is that? Ah, there it is. Okay. As I mentioned earlier, you may include negative impact, but it's important to stay positive and beneficial changes you make. No, it's not a good essay if you talked about how something horrible happened and your life fell apart or whatever it is. It's got to have a happy ending. This is something came out of it that was good. It could inspire you to go for a particular interest or path. I had a student a few years ago, wrote a wonderful essay, and it was, I believe, I don't know if it was on this topic, but it would have worked here. It was probably one we considered. He recounted a simply horrible experiences. His younger brother had an emotional disability, and he had heard commotion in the hallway, and when he went out to the hallway, he found out that his brother was creating a scene and people were laughing, and it was humiliating and it was horrible. And out of this, he became an advocate for people with disabilities. And he was very concerned. He was very concerned about his brother. He started a program to help them get job skills and other things like that. So this was something where he had a specific setback or failure. It could be about anything. I had a student once a long time ago had health issues, ended up going into nursing. What I don't like to see is the sports one, because it's very common. It's not very interesting about the team and we've lost the relay or whatever that is. That's not always a great essay. Sometimes you can do it and pull it off, but the lesson is what's important. And even more important than the lesson is, what did you do about it? And here, can you connect this to what you hope to learn in college? Again, that's what they're selling. They're selling, what are you going to do in college? So if you learn something, try to make it more specific to something they offer. I didn't just learn to be a nice person. I didn't learn to just handle disappointment, because again, they don't offer that. That's not a subject that you can major in. Failure. I guess maybe you could, but I don't know if that it's all that universal. You want to pick a universal topic for your Common App essay. You want to get specific. That's for the supplements. Any questions on this? Not, going on to the next one. Oh, I get excited when this works, so I hope you don't mind. Challenged a belief or idea. That's not part of the question. I have a title so that we know what the subject is of each of these questions. Reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or idea. What prompted your thinking? What was the outcome? Going on to the next to answer that. This can be a situation that you thought could be improved upon, or a time you went against the social norms. For example, siding with someone or a cause that is unpopular. I've had that essay. Another option could be to question or attempt to change the way something is commonly done. Again, the one with the brother who was emotionally challenged, this essay would have worked as well. It worked also. I had another student a few years back who was involved. She got very involved with, I guess it was the Gay Straight Alliance. And it was interesting because she was one of the straight components, and she joined it, and apparently she had come up against some conflicts with her friends who just didn't understand why she was joining that. And that was pretty interesting, actually. It was a very interesting essay. And it was challenging a belief and fixed notions. This could be anything. Again, almost every essay here can be used for almost any prompt here can be used for any topic. So it's nice to get an idea of what your topic is, and then look at all the different questions and say, okay, what does my question fit? The next question, essay 4, is very similar to this. And this one is about questioning a belief or a norm and what was the outcome. I believe the next one, bear with me a second. This one asks you, how was it resolved? Whereas the next one's kind of open, and it could be something that you're thinking about. In all these cases, I always like you to talk about what you've done, and then what you would like to do. What you would like to do in college, and perhaps beyond. I think that's key in all the essays. Okay, if there's something you've already solved, can you discuss the benefits and missteps to your solution? Those are things that you might want to consider when writing the essay. If it's what can you discuss the things that you did right and the things you did wrong? Very helpful here. Okay. Oops, sorry, wrong button. Okay, here's 4. 4 again is very similar to question 3. Describe a problem you've solved or a problem you'd like to solve. Oh, okay. I guess you could go either way on either one. It can be an intellectual challenge, a research query, an ethical dilemma, anything that is of personal importance no matter the scale. Explain its significance to you and what steps you took or could be taken to identify a solution. Very broad, open question. Describe an ethical dilemma of any question at all, any problem at all, and you can resolve this. It could be something that just for whatever reason you think about a lot. If anybody has a question, something here that they think might be applicable, please feel free to type it in. But again, this could be, I like that one with my student that had the brother, because again, this might have been the question we used for him. Something similar to this. They've adapted a little bit, but they've always had something like this. But this could be it. What to do? There's a lot of people out there with all sorts of disabilities. At some point, they may have to become self-sufficient. It was important to him. What did he do? And this is where you start getting in your qualifications, which is really what you want to put in that essay. If you think of the essay as an opportunity to have like a resume, and in this case, I'm going to use that example for the moment because it was a good one. He was a very strong student. He had this problem, and what did he do? He volunteered at different programs. He did certain things that he could say, okay, I want to take this further. I have done this, this, and this so far. In college, I would like to study something broad. So that in his case, I think it might have been business or whatever it was, so that I can apply those principles to solving this problem later in life. Is that clear to everyone? Any questions? Okay, I hope so. Feel free, if you have any questions, I'm here. Okay, back to those, here's the tips on that particular one. Scale the problem is not important. That is significant. I mean, you could write an essay about anything. It could be a very small thing. In fact, if you think about it, there are huge businesses that take care of small issues. It doesn't have to be life-changing. You don't have to cure cancer. You could find the new solution for paper cuts. It doesn't matter. It's just that it's important to you and that you can show some interest in it, and preferably some way of demonstrating that you've had an interest in it for a while and that you've acted upon it. Don't take the word problem literally. It could be absolutely anything you would like to switch or fix or improve or change. Right now, touch-free solutions are fabulous. You don't have to go into a bathroom. You don't have to touch the sink. You don't have to touch the soap. You don't have to touch the paper towel. That is a wonderful thing. Consider the problems you would have to tackle. Consider the possible solutions. You could weigh out the strengths and you could preferably talk about something you've tried. It may not have worked, but what did you learn from how it failed? You don't have to, the things you put in there don't have to be successes, as long as there is something that came out of it that moved you forward. Again, is this something you demonstrated some interest in solving? And again, that's with any topic. Something that's truly important to you. Hopefully the things that you do and that you go in different directions in working towards are things that you do find important. My son, for instance, graduated high school and started college in marine biology. And he did a lot of things. He did research on marine biology. He did beach cleanups. He did volunteers. He started clubs. And they were all based around marine biology. And of course, he went to college and changed his major like immediately. But he got in and he showed that he truly had a passion for it. So that's, and again, missteps that have already been solved. You could discuss the benefits and missteps to your solution. They really want to hear that you're passionate, that you're motivated, that you're self-started. These are all the qualities that schools look for, as do jobs when you look for employment. Next, personal growth. Discuss an accomplishment, event, or realization that sparked a period of personal growth and new understanding of yourself or others. This is, it could be anything. This is one where it could have been something, there's a lot of tragedy essays. Actually, COVID-19, I'll get into in a second. Before COVID-19, there were always my grandmother had cancer essay, and I became more mature. I'm not a fan of that essay because, again, it doesn't lead to any, it may show character traits that are admirable, but it's nothing you can major in. So with all of these essays, I'd like you to think about what is it that the college offers? Am I making, does my essay demonstrate something that they can build upon, something they can offer? Because showing that you're a nice person is great, but what are they going to do with you? You know, you're a nice person, they love their grandmother. Okay, fabulous, but we don't have that major. So use this, but again, always think in terms of what does it tell about me and something in something that the college offers. In a second, I'm sure I have the tips. I probably repeated myself. Again, this is the question in all these essays, by the way. Again, most of them have 2 or 3 parts. You have to tell the story to answer the question. And then you want to talk about what you did and resolve it. What did you do about it? So here, the main focus of this essay is personal growth. Okay, it's very specific about personal growth. I took care of my grandmother and I became an adult. So that's the area of talking about your personal growth. But it could be anything. I just used that one as an example. It should be specific and detailed, and as the new understanding that arose from it. The goal here is your arc, how you transitioned, and what this new realization or accomplishment led to. What it accomplished for you. What actions have you taken because of this change? You went through this and now you discovered that you like helping people and you decided to volunteer in a hospital. Is this something you'd want to build upon in college? Yes, I would like to. I've decided I want a career in medicine. So in college, I'm going to take all the sciences. And while I'm there, this is important too. Your activities in high school count. When you go to college, they also have activities. A lot of them have volunteer programs. Some of them have volunteer programs. I think Stony Brook has one where they take the kids to places overseas, probably South. I don't know where they're doing with COVID-19. They used to do like Honduras or whatever, and they would set up free clinics for people. And even though you guys are only students, college students, they're still able to assist in some of these things. So you may want to talk broadly about things that most colleges offer, about things you want to do in college. Most of them do have volunteer programs where you can help in the local neighborhoods. There's always areas near colleges that do need volunteers, whether it's mentoring or whether it's help in the free clinic or whatever it is. There's always those opportunities. So if that's something else you can do in addition to majoring in academic classes or participating in community service that most colleges offer, you should get that in there. That said, Louisiana, New Orleans, Tulane University, community service is a big thing there. They've had a lot of disasters and they value community service tremendously. So again, the strongest essay focus on all essays. Strongest essays focus on what you did because of or in response to whatever it is you talked about in the essay. So in each of these essays, something happened and you decided to do something about it. And now because of that, you want to build upon it in college and beyond. Okay, any questions here? And let's see. Next question, your passion. Describe a topic, idea, or concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? Because it's the second part. What or who do you turn to when you learn more? Here you have 3 topics. It's very clear in this question. Describe a topic, idea, concept. Okay, you describe it that you find engaging. It could be anything. Why does it captivate you? What do you do or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? Okay. This is about passion and personal motivation. You could be passionate about absolutely anything. it's helpful to pick something that most colleges have, or if it's something that is specific, like you want to be a pilot. There are a couple of colleges that actually do teach aviation. I can't think of the name. Ridley, there's one in Florida that's specific to pilots. There's others too. So you're not going to just apply to any school and want to be a pilot, or you're not going to want to apply to schools that don't teach something. But this is all about passion and your personal motivation. You pick any topic. It could be whatever it is. It doesn't matter how small. It doesn't matter how big. It could be anything that captures you. And this is something, it could be about anything. But again, I like when you tie it to something you're going to study in college. Because even if it's not something that you want to study in college, let's say you're passionate about yo-yoing. And you could talk about yo-yoing and how you get involved with it, but you can really actually turn that into maybe physics or design or toy design, whatever it is. It's nice to connect it to something that colleges offer. Again, think of it as applying for a job. You want to have something there that they could say, oh yeah, we have a place to put this kid. Perfect. It's all about finding a fit. Some schools are more important about that than others. There are schools that are going to they're going to admit you if you have the right grades to go in there. But if you want to start getting into the more competitive schools, or if you're borderline, they looking at you, maybe this or another kid, and they're saying, well, they're both the same. We only have one spot. Which one should we take? We should take the one that we can actually have a place for. Any questions here? Okay, again, let me just finish, make sure I got this question. It asks you about to discuss an idea or concept that captures your imagination, or it also tells very nice qualities. Schools like people that are motivated, they're self-starters. They have newspapers, they have bands, they have clubs, they have political action committees. They have all sorts of things at colleges. And bear in mind that they're always getting new people because people are always graduating. So they want people that are doers. Colleges like doers. So do jobs. So there's a lot of things. So it's always nice to be able to talk about things that you got involved with and you built upon on your own. It asks you to expound upon how you developed your deeper understanding or desire about this topic. That goes into the history. Well, I always liked yo-yos, and I decided to search them online, which is a terrible answer, to be honest with you. But it's probably the right answer for most of us. But I searched it online, so I bought a couple of yo-yos. I took them apart. I tried to see if I could make my own. It didn't work very well. It fell off the string and rolled down the floor and went through the grate in the street, and I had to go get another yo-yo. But whatever it is, you have to tell your stories. Be specific about details. Consider involving all senses in your description. I'm a storyteller. I love stories. I love books. I love movies. You want to make it a rich story, particularly any essay. You don't want your readers to fall asleep. So you really want to capture their interest. I do have a method that I find helpful. Don't have to follow it. It's just, I've been doing this for a while and I have found a few things that get us to the next step. So I will get there too in this presentation. Okay, last essay choice. Topic of your choice. Share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. Okay, this is pick your own essay. Not my favorite. A lot of people feel that this is, okay, I wrote an essay for school, I got an A, I'll give them this essay. If you go into a school that's not competitive and your grades and your scores are in the ballpark, fine. This is, a friend of mine used to have a statement, she said, the essay won't get you into a school, but it certainly can keep you out. If you're not, you can do that. Not my favorite choice. It's not going to make the difference if you just put in an essay. What this is really good about, though, this is great for people that say maybe a musician or an artist or somebody who does something that is not necessarily an essay, but something that's either visual or auditory, a poem. Let's say you wrote a book that tells a little bit of your story. That could be something like that, or you're an illustrator. This is a nicer vehicle for showing something, another side of you. That would be my preference. It's well suited for creative or unique formats, such as I said, poetry, or relating the imagined conversation. This is an essay I've seen before. The imagined conversation between the writer and someone who they greatly admire. Ideally, this should relate to your drives and motivation. But let's say you had a conversation with Steve Jobs, Shakespeare, anybody. Steve Jobs, and talking about your computer engineering. You could have that, but again, I would want to see your accomplishments in there. If you have done something and it's not somewhere in your application, you might as well not have done it. You know, I had one student early on in my career who played the cello and played at Carnegie Hall. It was nowhere. It wasn't in the essay. It wasn't in the application. It wasn't in there. It needs your accomplishments must be in your application. I like to put a lot of things in the essay, but if it's not in the essay, fine. Just make sure it's in your application somewhere. Again, this is not an opportunity to recycle a school essay. Not my favorite choice. I think I missed one. Oh, COVID-19. This year, there is a COVID-19 optional question. I believe it is limited to 250 words. Interestingly enough, I thought it was an opportunity for people to say, well, I've been out of school since March, and it is an opportunity for that. And there are 6 other people in my house. We didn't have Wi-Fi, and that's why my schoolwork fell off for the last 6 months of the year. It is an opportunity to write that. But I was surprised when I spoke to my friend who's an admissions officer. She's saying all the admissions officers were so grateful to see this because they all said, oh, otherwise we're all going to get COVID-19 prompts. Every essay is going to be about COVID-19. So they clearly don't want to see 1,000 COVID-19 essays. So if there is something you want to write about COVID-19 that may explain your grades, your lack of test scores, whatever it is, this is where you should write it. You could also even write, the good things too, or whatever. I mean, this might be the opportunity where you want to write that short essay about how you help somebody or whatever. If you already have the other essay, or the other essay answers the questions you need. So this is, it's optional. You don't have to answer it, but it's nice that they have that ability. And again, this is specific to COVID-19, but let's say you had another issue in your family that affected other things in your life academically. Maybe it created a situation where you couldn't have taken advantage of certain extracurriculars that would have helped you. You couldn't take certain courses, or you did poorly in courses. If it is not in the essay, it's not here, please make sure your guidance counselor has that information. Anything that supports your application, you want in there. And you got to find a place to get it in there, whether it's good or bad. If it supports you getting into a school, make sure it's in your application. Okay, personal inventory. I had mentioned this a few times. Are there any questions for me? Is everybody following me? Have I put anyone to sleep? I don't see a row of Z's in the chat, so I'll assume not. I mentioned the personal inventory. I have a method for working this that I have found to be helpful, but I'm going to give you some pointers so that you can do it without me. You want to write down everything that makes you special. And things that set you apart, things that you're passionate about. List all your accomplishments, your skills, your activities. You can make these lists. And when I say special, that could be interpreted a lot of ways. It's really, I think that's a poor choice of words, maybe. What I'm really thinking about is what makes you unique. What would you bring to a college that maybe other people have it too, but we want to list everything that you think that makes you a desirable candidate for any school. When you have that down, then we have a list of all your accomplishments, your skill, and a list of all your skills, your activities. Then we start putting it together, what you want in there, and we want to know, are these things covered elsewhere? As I mentioned, the girl with the cello that played at Lincoln Center. Maybe her essay is about something completely different. She decided she wants to be a vet, and she talks about that. Everything that's important about you, that sets you apart, that makes you a cut above, has to be in that application somewhere. Whether it's in your essay, whether it's in your activities, whether it's in a letter. And by the way, a little note on activities. Your activities should be in order of importance. If you said you wanted to be a vet and you like animals, and your top 3 things in your activities are baseball, bowling, and soccer, and volunteering at the vet's office is at the bottom, that's not going to cut it. That would be up top. You want to make the stuff that relates to what your argument is, because that's what it is. It's an argument. Why you should be there are of higher importance. Is there something more you would like the admissions office to know about these undertakings? Again, anything in those essays, the inventory, anything that you want them to know, you got to figure out a way to get in there. Think about what has motivated you to pursue these interests. Again, that's going back to storytelling. What makes you want to do what you're doing? The kid that started up a jobs program for people that were disabled. He was motivated because he wanted to help people like his brother. And he did certain things. Let's see if I can get to the next page. Feel free to jump in with questions. Next, goals and ambitions. Think about what you want to pursue in college, your goals, your dreams, your ambitions. Okay? What have you done to pursue these objectives, and why are these things important? Now, this is a pretty weighty question. Think about your goals, your dreams, and your ambitions. Once again, I want to remind you, this is what you need to focus in on now for your application. It will help you. Thinking about these things will help you in putting together your application. You can change your mind. Just because you tell the college that you really want to do these things, that you've done all these things all along, even if you're starting to think, oh, I remember when my son was a senior, he had played the saxophone since he was, in 4th grade. I mean, he didn't go into music, but I remember thinking, please just hang on to it, just say you want to do it. It was, you still want to support your strongest attributes for college. So don't write that, gee, I played the saxophone since 4th grade and I can't wait to get to college so I don't have to play that saxophone anymore. Don't say that. But just remember that even if you're saying these things and you still love it, but you're not sure if you really ever want to do it, but you're thinking you might, that's okay. They're not going to hold you to it. They're not going to say, oh, but in your essay, you said you really, really wanted to be a psychologist, and now you're telling me you don't want to be a psychologist. They're not going to say that to you. So support whatever it is that you're passionate about and that you've demonstrated that you're passionate. And don't worry, you can change your mind. Okay, character traits. These are things colleges look for and are helpful to think about when writing your essay. They look for students who include positive character traits, leadership, initiative, creativity, commitment, intellectual curiosity. As I said before, they like doers. They like people that say, gee, I'm not happy with the way this situation is. Let me see if, I can't think of something, a better way to do it. Whatever that is. I don't like, I'm always late for school. I don't really have time to sit and eat breakfast. So I came up with I like breakfast bars, but my breakfast bars are always there. Whatever it is, you can come up with a better way of doing it, or at least something that you think might be a better way. It might not be, but at least you tried. So they like kids that try things, that are out there, that are willing to challenge things and try to make things better. That's what we need in the world. So when you're preparing for your essay, list your best character traits. And this is important. Think about stories that illustrate those. Again, back to show, don't tell. Whatever it is, or anecdotes. And I don't know how many parents are out there, but I will tell you that when I work with students, I always interview with parents. And the reason I like the parents to be there is parents, they revel in your accomplishments. And all the things that you say, oh, Mom, don't tell that story again. I hate that story. Those are usually the best stories. I love those stories. Parents know what's great about you. They remember all those things, and they are very, very helpful they shouldn't write your essay, but when you're saying, oh, I always like to do this. Can you think of anything? Your parents are probably the people that can think of the story. The time that you started the food drive after you went and you saw somebody hungry in the street. The time you did whatever it is that you did, your parents probably know about it. So I would definitely talk to them. Okay, here's a question. Okay, no, from Lawrence, everyone agreed. I'm not sure what Lawrence agreed about. Lawrence, what did you agree about? Okay. All right, I don't know what Lawrence agreed about, but if anybody has questions, please let me know. Did I miss anything for anybody so far?
I have a question. This actually has to do with certain supplemental essays from particular colleges, and some of them say something to this effect, which is write about something that is not in your Common App essay, that is not in your activity sheet, something else that we don't know. How do you even answer that? Because essentially everything is in the activity sheet or in the Common App essay, and especially if they ask you to attach your resume. So how do you even write that type of essay?
Okay, it's a supplement, correct?
Yes, a supplement.
Okay, supplements are college specific. Most supplements really have an underlying question, and the question is, why should we take you? Why should we take you to the specific institution? So my suggestion is, with all supplements, whether it's that question or not, go to the institution's website. If you get to go to the college, that's great. That's even better. For certain schools, it's essential, but right now that's changing. And read through their mission statement. That's my favorite, by the way. I'm giving that secret to you. I always read through the mission statement. Read through their majors, or whatever they're calling them. They call them concentrations. Read through their clubs. Read through a little bit about whatever, if it's research you're interested in, read through. I'm sure you're going to find something there that might not already be in your essay. Like your essay could be about, everything else could have been about something else. And say, I saw that at such and such college that they have an outreach program that teaches kids, people that are illiterate, to read. I've always loved reading, and if I were to be accepted to such and such college, I would love to volunteer for that program. So it's adding another dimension to you, but it's connecting to with that college in particular.
Okay.
Okay. And
yeah, because I've seen the ones that say, why our college? And of course, research the college itself. But some of them have actually said, tell us something about yourself that is not in the Common App application or in your activity sheet. So how do you even answer that though?
As I said, it's still about that college.
Oh, okay.
I would approach it by saying, okay, let me look through and see if I can tell you something else about me. Because you can always think of, I mean, I know they're only 17 years old, but there's always something that's not in those, 6 pages or whatever it is. There's something that there's always more to a person. Just try to find something else that you want to tell them about you that connects to the college.
Oh, okay. So you're saying research the college, see what they're like clubs, activities they have, programs that they have, and show how that's something that really interests the the student, and showing their passion towards that type of thing.
That's what I would do.
Okay. Okay.
In sales, they always say you're always closing. You're always making the sale. And in this case, you're selling a student to a school.
Okay.
So did that answer your question?
Yes. Yes, it definitely did. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, I'm going to see what else I have here. Review your inventory. This goes back to those lists. Those qualities, achievements, and attributes you want the colleges to know about you. Here's where I love my parents. Take note of stories and anecdotes that illustrate what you want to convey. That goes back to show, don't tell. Reflect upon your entire application and consider where those items may be covered. And as I mentioned before, supplements are always they should always be specific to the school. I mentioned reading the mission statement. That is where, when I worked with a student that had to go that just fell in love with Tulane, that was their top choice school. It was in the mission statement that I figured out how they should write their essay, because it talked about New Orleans and the devastation in New Orleans and all the people that were in need and why that was so important. Mission statements, and I will tell you that that's not just in colleges. I've used that for medical schools, essays, a lot of things, residency programs, because I've done those, and even jobs. Always helpful to read the mission statement, because it's telling you, well, this is what we're about. This is what we want. And if you read that, you can kind of answer that question. Why should they're always asking, why should we take you? And if you know what interests them, you could say, you should take me because I'm exactly what you're looking for. Does that make sense to everybody there? You'll find it helpful. I've had students come back to me and tell me, oh, by the way, I did that and I got this position, I got whatever. It works. Okay, brainstorming. This is back to your list, your passions, your drives, your interests. My suggestion is always, it's not a bad idea to look through a bunch of the schools that are on your list, see what their majors are. See if we can make it work, because your Common App it's broad. It's going to go to all your schools. So you don't want to get very specific to something that all these schools don't have, that only some do. You want to kind of figure out, well, it could fit biology, but it could also fit life sciences or whatever it is. You want to just kind of make it so it's the Common App fits a number of schools. Personal traits or qualities you want to convey, and illustrative or related stories and anecdotes. Again, you tell everything in stories. You don't have to say, I'm smart, I'm kind. Show them the skills. You know your computer skills, and you worked on your computer programming, and you figured out something, or you tried to figure out something, or you want to. Okay, moving on. Putting it together. This is basic story writing. Opening paragraphs, you want to capture their attention. I always love, when I work with students, and actually somebody just recently sent me a screenplay, I tend to read through and say, okay, here's your opening. It's not always, my name is John Smith, and I always loved whatever, cleaning the zoo pen or whatever. But sometimes you read and say, and then there's a story in the middle there I like that story that was a pivotal moment. It's sort of like, I used to be a film editor. So I like movies and I like the way they're put together. Movies start in the middle of an act of action. And then they start with something that happened, the car chase, whatever it is. And then they explain it afterwards. So I always like to think of it like a movie. You start in the middle of the action and then you put it together and you start explaining how these things support what you wanted to do. And there's that inspirational moment that set everything in together, to set everything in motion. That's how I like to start it. You don't have to do that, but they're getting a zillion essays. They read 1 million of them in a day. You don't want them to fall asleep. You want them to be able to read your essay and get past the first paragraph. But, and that said, they may not get to the end. So you get your opening. My suggestion is get your strongest arguments in first. You can tie it up towards the end, but you want to make sure that in case they start to nod off, that what's really important is in there. You must answer the question. I know that you folks probably are all in English classes. They talk about answering questions and how you repeat the question in the answer, and to make sure you've answered it. English teachers are great. The fact that if any of them will help you and read it, they're always wonderful. Make sure that your grammar is correct and that you've answered the question and your spelling is correct and all of those things. You should always check everything before you put it. Next, I think we're almost done here. Active versus passive voice is about grammar. Passive voice tends to be boring. The ball was hit versus the boy hit the ball. It's a little bit more active. Avoid too many adjectives, too many adverbs, avoid too many things that have the to be verb in it. This is all about writing something that's clear, concise, and keeps the reader engaged. Final thoughts. Write about what you care about. And again, as I said earlier, you should give your essay when complete to somebody who does not know you well and have them read it and say, okay, what does this tell? What do you know about me now? And they should know a few things about what motivates you. They may know, as I said in the show, Don't Tell. And they say, gee, you're a really kind person that really cares about how yo-yos are made, or whatever it is. That's what you want to hear, because you want to make sure your message got across. Clarity and brevity. Don't write more than goes on. It's actually, believe it or not, it's challenging, but it's easy to write more and then just cut. The students, yes, you do indicate which question. I don't know how, I haven't looked at the application recently, but it used to have like some sort of checkoff, so you do have to indicate which question you're answering. But as I said, you can kind of start piecing together your essay based on this information, and the prompts are very broad. Then go back and say, okay, which one is the closest match? And you may even change which prompt you use when you're in the middle. I've had that happen. Avoid cliche terms and phrases, particularly because you may use a term that's very common and popular where you are, but you may be applying to, you live on Long Island and you're applying to University of Michigan, and they never heard the term. I don't even know what terms are local anymore, but it may not be relevant to them. So try not to use those things. Okay, limit use of adjectives and adverbs, which I said before, which just slow you down. Read slowly, make sure that all your errors are checked before you submit it. Let's see. And that's me again. So I guess we have come to the end of this. Are there any questions that you would like answered? Now's a good time to tell me. I would really appreciate it if everybody did type in here. What is the one thing you feel you could take away from this presentation? If everybody wouldn't mind, just could be a word, could be a sentence. what's the one thing that you took away and found of value from this presentation? If you don't mind answering that, that would be appreciated. In the meantime, I wish everybody a lot of luck and good fortune going ahead and with your essays. I know this is challenging. It's a challenging time. I want everybody to be safe and healthy and enjoy your high school experience. And I'm sure when you do go to college, I hope everything is well, because college is a wonderful, wonderful time in your life. And I hope that everybody really has a good time. All right. If anybody can, if we've closed, you could always send off a message to either myself or to Sharon. And if you have any other questions, you could email me at dreamquest@AOL. That's my personal email. If you have a question, do me a favor. Please write in college consulting or essay question in the subject line, because I get a lot of email and I don't want to miss your question. If I haven't answered you or at least acknowledged, please feel free to write again. I may have missed an email. Okay. Okay, you can also you can email Sharon Long at splteens@syossetlibrary.org. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Have a wonderful rest of the school year. And I wish you all the best. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. Oh, we have some questions. You want to just leave the chat open for a little bit? Can you see it from Justine?
I hadn't. Okay. At first, I thought the answer was about yourself. Okay, so that's from Justine. Justine, so that was helpful to you? Have an idea?
Cool.
Very cool. I'm glad. As I said, it's a method that I've found to be successful. I've worked on it for a while, and I found that the students that do this, first of all, it gives you a basis of, what to write about. And it seems to work. It really does. It's very effective. Students get in more often than not and get into some of their very top choice programs. In fact, how I ended up doing this is I started working with my kids and then their friends, and everybody was getting in. And I kind of honed this, and I've developed a method that is really very effective. So I'm glad, Justine, I'm glad you found something to write about, and I wish you all the best. Fabulous. All right.
You're welcome.
All right. Is that Justine over there in the corner? Hi, Justine.
Thanks for coming.
Yes, thanks for coming. I wish you a lot of luck. Okay, take care. I'm gonna.
Thanks again, Melissa.
Logging out. If anybody contacts Sharon, she can also get in touch with me too, or you can get in touch with me directly. Hi, Sharon.
Sounds good.
Have a good night.